road redo.
I got it.
What you move about it?
Ready?
Yeah, where do you guys
We're gonna call the May 27th, 2026 meeting of the Crab Management Advisory Committee to order. We have the welcome and announcements.
Sure, yeah, so I just wanted to open us up. I haven't interacted with most of you guys in my previous work, but I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Ethan Simpson. I'm the new Deputy Chief of Fisheries. So you'll see me at more of these coming up. So I just want to mostly just introduce myself, let you know I'm a resource if you have any questions moving forward. Light on announcements. The only thing I will, before handing it off to Alexa to lead here, is if you have not reapplied, make sure that you do so. If you are interested, that closes at the end of this month. So you still have a couple days to do that. That link is live on our agency website. Yeah, with that, I'll just hand it right off to Alexa.
Thank you, Ethan. We look forward to working with you.
No, thank you all.
All right, here's today's agenda, starting with approval of the minutes.
Ready for the minutes? We have the minutes in front of us. If there's no additions, corrections, or deletions to them, we would need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is the review of the 2025-2026 Chesapeake Bay Winter Crab Judge Survey results.
All right, so a first mention about the stock assessment. It did pass peer review, a draft version of the report, all the models, in April. So there was a board of independent experts who looked at everything about the data and model and said the model's solid. The final report has not yet been released. The current state of the stock assessment has data through 2023. So the model team is currently working on an update through 2025. That's expected to be available this summer. And then once that's available, we'll be coming back to CMAQ, start working on presenting the results, and then discussing management responses. So for the Winter Dredge Survey results, until a new management framework is available, we're still operating under the current framework, which is based on the results of the Winter Dredge Survey. These are the biological reference points we show you every year. The new assessment will use more than the Winter Dredge Survey, but it's still the best available science and will be an integral tool for management moving forward with the availability of the stock assessment in future years. So the results of this year's survey was that total crab abundance increased 46% from last year to 349 million crabs. That's of both sexes, all ages. That was the 21st highest in the 37 years of the survey. Adult female abundance decreased 25% to 81 million, still above the threshold, below which we'd be depleted, but below the abundance target. Adult male abundance increased 43% to 37 million crabs, and the juvenile abundance more than doubled, increased 121% over last year to 228 million juveniles. So here's that total crab abundance compared to the average, which is about 399 million crabs. Here's the abundance of adult blue crabs of both sexes. So a decline because while males increased, there's still fewer males than females. I realize I didn't fix the colors on this one, but the blue line is females. Like I said, they're still higher, but they did decrease this year. And then the males are that red line, and while still fairly low, they did increase from last year. So something we don't usually talk about, but I think is very important this year, is the overwintering mortality. So the surveys, both in Virginia and Maryland, look at the number of dead crabs they pull up towards the end of the survey. And from that, and these are crabs already dead, not dredge mortality. And they calculate what percent of the crabs are dying over winter. And this usually increases when we have the cold snaps, like we did this year. So mortality was highest in Maryland, with adult mortalities in the 25 to 30% range. Adult mortality in Virginia was around 10 to 15%. Part of the reason for the difference in the female and male rates is that more females are caught in Virginia, where the mortality was lower, and more males are caught in Maryland, where the mortality is higher. So you can see we were well above average mortality for the adult females and adult males. So here's the adult female abundance. For this year, that abundance was 81 million crabs, and that's above that threshold there of 72 million crabs. Juvenile abundance, like I said, more than doubled, up to 228 million juveniles. That's actually the 14th highest we've seen in the 37 years of the survey. Moving on to harvest, here's bay-wide commercial blue crab harvest. This doesn't include the seaside areas. By state, so Virginia's the blue, Potomac River is the yellow, Maryland's the red. Harvest decreased 4%, mostly driven by a 7% decrease in Maryland's harvest, while Virginia increased 1% and PRFC increased 3%. For a total commercial harvest in 2025 of 41 million pounds. This graph shows the harvest of females from Virginia and Maryland and what percentage of that harvest was taken by each state. We've long noted the change after 2018, where there has been less of a gap between Maryland and Virginia's share of the female harvest. Last year was nearly 50-50, but Virginia increased our share in 2025. In absolute poundage, it looks like Virginia harvested more females than in 2024, while Maryland took fewer. On the other hand, male harvest distribution has remained fairly consistent at about a 70-30 split, and the harvest itself hasn't changed much year to year. Female exploitation rate is the biological reference point we're currently using. What percent of female crabs present in the bay during the winter are captured by the following year's fishery. So the exploitation rate in 2025 was 29%, which is above the target where we want to be, but still well below the 37% threshold, at which point we would be overfishing. The male exploitation rate for 2025 was 36%. Because, this is above the conservation trigger, which isn't a biological reference point. This doesn't mean we're fishing too hard or something's wrong with the amount of exploitation. It's just, if we're above that trigger, we want to look a little more closely. Because the exploitation rate references the previous year's dredge survey, so not the 2026 survey, the 2024-2025. Last year, males were down and harvest stayed about the same, so exploitation rate would be expected to increase. This does not reflect the increase in the male abundance that we saw in this winter. Any questions about the survey?
Yes, I do. Number one, the media release. I'm sure everybody got a copy of this?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, the media release, it's strange because this is what the general public reads. And it says that with 24 to 25, we went to 344 million pounds. This is an increase, 120% in juvenile blue crabs, up 228 million. Adult male crabs, they were up too. But when we get to the female, the adult female population, however, has declined to 81 million. My question is, everything that did better, the numbers are put here. But when it said the decline in the adult females, it just said decline. It didn't say what it declined from. So as the general public reads this, they think, well, everything's good. And as far as the juveniles, this big increase in juveniles, we don't catch the juveniles. It's the adult females that we catch. So people was calling me about this and said, what is the decline? I said, I have no idea, but this is what the general public reads. So if you're gonna put the numbers out when things are good, then put the numbers out what the decline, if it was 81 million and if last year it was 91 million, whatever the case may be, at least put that number in there. So the general public knows that everything in it is perfect as this reads. Okay, number two. I asked you about it when it came in. This survey here, it's 37 years. If you look at it, I asked you about this number on the adult females, 933. I asked you about that. If you look back on these charts, you'll discover that it's 37 years here. Out of those 37 years, only 6 years out of 37 has been lower than that number. 6 years out of 36 has been lower than the number that we got here on adult females. To me, that's kind of curious. You know, out of 37 years, only 6 has been lower than this number.
Like I said, I'm not familiar with that table enough to draw
Well,
conclusions from it.
This is the table. And if you look at it, I marked 6 years, this number's been lower than this out of 37. That ain't very good odds. And my next question would be, you mentioned Seaside was not included. Why is that? Why aren't Seaside numbers included? A lot of us spot on Seaside and we send mandatory reports in, but Seaside's never included in what the catch is.
Just for the winter dredge survey bay-wide. So the Seaside will be included in the
How about
Virginia
all-
harvest data, which I'm about to go into.
Okay, so what we catch over there is included in the final catch, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Mr. Hutchins first.
Yeah, Alexa, can this committee get a copy of this? I mean, why won't we provide it with this information before we met today? I mean, it certainly would be nice to.
I have said that for years. I serve on the Plan Commission over home. I'm chairman of the Wetlands Board. And every month that we have a meeting, I get a package.
Yeah.
A week or so before the meeting, so I can go through it and read it and look at it, so I'm prepared when I come. I've said this for years. We don't get nothing till we come here, and this is done so quick. Hell, you can't comprehend that. Why can't we get a package before we come, so, just like I got here, that we can look at this? These gentlemen don't have a clue what I'm talking about. That's what it is.
I haven't even seen this. This is news to me. I haven't even seen a media release. I would just like to have the information so we can comment on it when it comes before this committee, you know. And it has been done in the past. I don't know why it's not being done now, but we certainly could use it. I mean, don't everybody agree? Would you like to have the information before?
I'll make a motion that we get a package before we hold these meetings, that VMRC sends us the information that they're gonna present to us.
At least the winter dredge survey. I mean, that's what I'm mainly concerned with. I mean, we get the agenda, you know, we get that's fine, but this type of information, I mean, you went up there in 5 minutes, you've gone through it, and we're supposed to remember all this? I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Hold on. Mr. Powers was
Can you go back to the total crab population graph you had, the one with the lines and the dots? That one. Is that one? Yes.
The one
Adult
by
blue
sex?
crab. Adult blue crab, that's not by sex. Oh, okay,
This is
that's
by
by
sex.
sex. Okay, there was a total blue crab.
This was total population,
Okay, total
all
population.
sexes,
okay.
all ages.
Okay, so adult by sex then. Okay, so I look at this one and so blue is female or blue is male? Blue is
Yes,
female.
blue is female. My colors got mixed up when I was making this slide.
So I look at this and I see, just like, Mr. Marshall did, there are very few years where it is above where we are right now. That is, to me, that is not something that should get a positive press release.
Mhm.
I mean, we are down, I mean, in 98, 2003, that's when we had all the draconian cuts because it was so low. And since then, we've only, we're as low as we've been since then, except for 1 year. And that's a little unnerving. And then you have the adult female graph, similar graph, I thought it was. That one. On that one, again, we've got, like 4 years out of the 37, I guess that's 37. No, that's not 30, yeah, that's 37, 4 years out of the 37, where it's lower than we are, which means that out of the 37, there are many years where we're almost as bad as we've been. And that is unnerving to me as far as saying, oh, things are doing just great.
So when we were looking at the numbers out of the Winter Dredge Survey, the first thing we looked at was 2014, 2015. Those were years we knew we had a cold snap, it brought the population down, because a lot of times people look at this and they say, what happened in 2014? There was a cold snap. That was 2014 and 2015, the overwintering mortalities were actually quite similar to what we had this year. So it doesn't particularly surprise me that the females decreased, but it did seem to hamper a recovery the next few years.
Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't, but
Yep.
the press release was a lot more positive than I would have thought based on the data I've seen.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the committee?
I just like to make one comment. I'm perplexed. I really don't see all the measures that we've done to protect these females, and it's not getting done, whether it be sanctuaries or pot limits or whatever it is. I don't know what the answer is, but it's not helping. It's going the wrong way. It's going the other way. Everything we've done for the last 20 years on that side of it. So I just think this committee needs to take a look at what we're doing, because what we're doing ain't helping none. And I just want to get that out because it's disturbing,
Yeah, we're hoping the stock assessment can help us take a longer view look at the
Yeah.
population. And like I've said, I expect we'll be working closely with CMAC to say, where do we go from here?
Maybe with this juvenile increase, maybe we'll see some females come out of that, hopefully that'll improve it some, but we've done a lot to protect the spawning females, and it ain't working. So,
Well,
Ron, you got anything to say?
Yeah, if you bring that graph back up, for the females. So notice what happened, 2008, that's where we had the major
Mhm,
mass.
right. Crab dredging, yeah.
Right, and we did see a response from the population. If you look at the abundance from 2009 on,
Mhm.
it is on average higher than it was between the early 90s
Yeah.
and 2008.
I agree with you there.
So we feel that's what was happening. What's happened in the last 5 years, 21 to 25, is when we had low juvenile abundance.
Mhm.
We have not found that the stock assessment or anything is smoking guns for that.
Mhm.
We're in the process of looking at environmental conditions and maybe the collective effect of predators like red drum, blue catfish,
Yeah.
rockfish,
Right.
and so on. So that is a puzzle right now, those 5
Mhm.
years. I'm personally really happy that we saw a jump in juveniles
Yeah.
Yeah.
and some initial.
Yeah, that's positive. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Some initial surveys out there
Mhm.
that we've done, we're seeing a lot of juveniles. So
Mhm.
really glad, I'm hoping that that is the answer. When we did It was, based on a stock recruitment relationship that showed that there was a significant effect of spawning females on subsequent juveniles. The issue with that is that only about, so the juvenile abundance bounces around. We could explain about half of those changes with the spawning stock. The other half is unexplained, most likely because of the environment, right? There are environmental
Right.
issues like currents and everything else. So it's not surprising to me that all of a sudden we're in a situation where we have juveniles that's been down, because in general, we only can explain about half of the changes as a result of the spawning side. So I feel like the spawning side is our ability, represents our ability to have resilience in the population. That is, that we have enough females, even though they're down now, that will allow us to recover. And unfortunately, we've got that other half that is environmentally driven. That's for every fishery, every species, whatever. So I will say that I firmly believe two things. One, that the sanctuary in 2002, 2003 potentially prevented collapse of the population and maintained it at, even though it was a low level, and that those actions in 2008 really had a big effect. And you can actually see that if we were to show you the data for how males versus females, remember, management was aimed at females. Females responded. Males did not. Males, you don't see that blip, big blip, in males that you do in the females. A little bit of a blip. But not, and I think that's primarily because of juveniles. So that's my take on it.
Just one other question. Can you explain why there's no crabs on the western side of the bay? Other than the Mob Jack? When you leave the Mob Jack, it is not hardly, I mean, the spring, I'm speaking of March and April. It's not hardly a crab up the windmill in that area, you know, it just,
I have,
all the crabs for the last 3 or 4 years are staying on the eastern side of the bay.
I have heard that, and
Rob,
it
could
may,
you come to the microphone so it casts to get our report? Sorry.
I won't speak for that, you do.
Get you enough to eat on this side of the bay, where I'm at.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
remember that, to give you a little bit of background, remember that what happens to juveniles, with juveniles, is that after the females hatch the larvae go offshore for about a month. And that's happening from July through early November, through October. And then they have to get back into the bay, right? And that's dependent on the right currents being out there. What happens with the currents is the main flow of the currents coming back into the bay go along,
East side, deep
East.
water.
go along the eastern shore, bayside eastern shore. And then from there, they go to the western shore. So it is possible that whatever caused that juvenile decline, maybe there was some change in the currents that then are funneling the crabs primarily to the bayside eastern shore, and fewer numbers to the western shore.
Okay.
That would be my explanation. We do have, like I said, an ongoing study looking at physical drivers, winds, everything else,
Okay.
right now.
Good, thanks.
Rob, like myself, you've been here for a long time. I've heard these stories for years and years and years, the same thing as a broken recording. But I also want to bring back to what I mentioned in the beginning. According to this paperwork here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 years. For 9 years, we steady been going downhill. 9 years in a row, these numbers.
On females, right?
Yes. And I was here many years ago when we went through 12-point management plan and all these graphs, and you would think after 25 or 30 years when you pass, I got a book home district with regulations into it, you would think after 25 or 30 years when you're here, we were down, and we passed all these regulations that common sense would tell you over a period of time that this should do this at a slow, maybe a slow pace, but it should do this. That's not happening. After all of these years,
So-
There's a whole lot of, when we first come up with the Trail Point Management Plan, I stood right there in front of this commission and said that it was a joke at the time, the regulations we put in effect. And I've always said, why do we have regulations that, people on this board know some of the regulations we got, they're a joke. They're a damn joke, and we know that, just won't admit to it, they're a joke. They do absolutely nothing, and that's why a lot of times we agree with it, because it's a joke. It doesn't amount to anything, but this concerns me when we're 9 years down in a row, and they tell me, everything's fine.
I'm not saying that.
Everything's good, you know. We're
Press
doing-
I'm not
release
saying
did-
everything's fine,
we're
we're
doing
saying
good.
we need to be cautious and not relax regulations in a major way right now
So
until
my
we
question to
see.
you is what do we do? We keep on going down until something devastating happens, until the commission's, okay, like they did 20 years ago, we got past all these regulations, and next time around, they may work and we'll be in trouble again. We need to quit, like my dad used to say, we need to quit doing this. And we need to look off their ways.
Yeah, we're also in the midst of, I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that there are a lot of environmental changes that have been going on the last few years, and things like seagrass, things like the warming is affecting it. You know, there's some positive things like stone crabs in the bay, but, yeah, it's a real tough nut to crack right now.
I'm still convinced that we got more problems with predation than people realize. I think there's a big problem there too. We had rockfish on the seaside, I've never seen them like that before, schools up.
Yeah, I will say one
That
of
don't
the things I
exist in the
wish
past.
we'd gotten heavier into is ecosystem-based management, where we're starting to look at all the different species, especially the predators. And we're not just talking about the fish. I mean, sea turtles come into the bay to eat females and eat young blue crabs and
Everything eats crab.
everything likes blue crab, and they cannibalize.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we did not integrate in the stock assessment, is the fact that blue crabs cannibalize, so that could be part of the problem too.
If you got salt crabs in a float, you got a Jimmy in there, he'll damn sure eat her, that's for sure.
Mr. Powers?
One of the correlations that I would find really interesting, and we have the data on SAV acreage by area, and what it's done over the years, which is not in general pretty. It would be interesting to see if there's a correlation with SAV in the areas that you're specifically saying, up along the eastern shore where the larvae come in, and they need a place to land and hide and grow into little baby crabs.
Yeah, the problem we have with that, I took a look at that a few years ago. The problem is that the SAV program does their aerial surveys in June, typically. And the blue crabs are not recruiting till July, August, September. And as many of you know, seagrass will die off through the summer. And so what I found is that, and then I had a master's student who actually looked at that and compared the SAV program's data with a new software called Planet that actually can give you SAV coverage during other times of the year. And she found that what the SAV program does not reflect what's actually out there when the crabs are recruiting. So we're trying to look at that now with that new software, Planet, but the old SAV program data, unfortunately, even if you look at what's there in June of one year relative to the previous year or to what's happening in the fall that year, they don't correlate, so, yeah.
Mr. Moore?
Rom, you mentioned both currents and physical forces, and I think all of us will remember, we probably had the most east and northeast wind we've had, I feel like, forever, last fall, September and October. So I actually wasn't as surprised by the juvenile numbers, but is that something that you had kind of thought about as well, given
Yeah,
how much wind?
that's what we're looking at with these, so NOAA physical oceanographers, they actually have all that information on wind forcing. And where we are with that right now is that they have accumulated all their findings for the physical data. Now we're gonna try to relate it to the biological data, the blue crab data. So we're right in the middle of doing that.
Okay.
What data are they using for that?
So the physical data comes from various sources, but the biological data is coming from the stock assessment database.
All right, so moving on to Virginia's 2025 blue crab harvest. As a reminder, this is still preliminary. We sometimes do have late reports coming in. Our harvest actually increased 4%, up to 15.9 million pounds of blue crabs. As usual, hard crab pots took about 97% of the harvest. Peeler pots, another 2.7 to 3. That's been the standard for the last few years. More than a few, but less than it used to be. And other gears, just 0.1% of the harvest. Dockside value also increased on par, up to $36.8 million ex-vessel value. Interestingly, the number of harvesters and the number of trips both decreased. The number of trips decreased 4% to 700, number of harvesters decreased 4% to 716. That's harvesters who reported. And the trips decreased 6% to 40,800, which suggests that each harvester, each trip, were taking more crabs each, if the harvest was to increase with that. So here's the graph of harvest and effort. As I said, harvest increased slightly, while effort, the yellow line, decreased. That's effort's number of trips. Here's a look at the month by month. So harvest in April was higher than average. That yellow line is the 5-year average. May on par. Fortunately, the summer just didn't hit as high as it usually does. And December is as low as it usually is when we are open during then. And licensing for the hard crab pots, the percent of eligible licensees who report harvest has continued to decrease. We're down to, in 2025, 54% of eligible hard crab pot licensees reported harvest. And then here's just a quick look at where we've been in 2024 and 2025, and where we are for the spring of 2026. So for March, very low. It was very cold. In April, we were slightly higher than 2024, but lower than 2025. Trips and harvesters were also down for both of those months for 2026. But the table on the right shows what percent of licensees have reported at this point. So for March, we're still missing about 12% of licensees' reports. April, we're missing almost 30. So those numbers can certainly increase. This is very preliminary. And of course, for May, the reports aren't even due yet, so we don't have those numbers yet. But that's just a quick look at where we stand so far. Any questions on the harvest before we move on?
Yeah,
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, thank you. Question about the licenses that didn't report. I would assume that was in the smaller pot categories. Is that a correct assumption, or was it throughout the pot categories?
Do you mean this, who haven't
No.
reported so far, or do you mean
Go
the number of
back to mine.
eligible
Yeah, go back.
the latent effort?
Salmon or harvesters. Go
Oh, the
back.
7, yeah, you said there was a 4% reduction
Right.
in,
Yeah. I don't have that broken down
okay.
yet.
Mr. Rice?
You go back to your slide you ended on that one. Just, the curve showed that we were down in the summer months this past year, but take notice of the harvest within strips, guys. I don't know that our average was less, it was just less effort put into it.
Well, the average was less over the last 5 years. So this only shows that was 2025 by the 5-year average. This is only showing the 1 year before that. So I don't have the numbers for the other months, but yeah, it looks like 2025 was much lower in those summer months.
Right, but we had less trips and less harvesters, which we've seen year after year, our trend goes down a little bit each year, so our harvest should be a little bit less than
Yeah.
what the 5-year average is. That's not a red flag, is what I'm trying to say.
Birthdays are working on people.
Huh?
Birthdays are working on people.
You're right.
And you don't got people taking their place.
Any other questions?
So moving on to our suggested season and bushel limits. So like we said, we're waiting on that stock assessment to be finalized, waiting on the stock assessment update, waiting on working with you all on the future of blue crab management. So for now, we are going to recommend status quo. So for the hard crab pot, that would be a season of March 17th through December 19th. Last year it was December 20th, but I know in the past CMAC has asked us to end on the Saturday of that month, so that would be the 19th. The high bushel limit would stay May 16th to October 31st. Peeler pot and other gears, April 15th to October 15th, and closure of the winter dredge fishery. So our timelines for now, on May 13th, CVSAC reviewed the winter dredge survey results. They'll have a report coming out later this summer, probably June or July. On May 18th, Virginia and Maryland released our press on the winter dredge survey. Today, May 27th, results are presented at CMAC, and on June 23rd, we'll be presenting at the commission meeting for the 2026-2027 season and bushel limits and dredge closure. Any questions?
Mr. Sanford?
Yeah, you want to start on the 17th. Why couldn't we start on the 15th, which is a Monday?
We're not planning to really change much about the season,
That's
other
only 2
than
days.
ending on the Saturday, which is something we've moved with CMAC before.
I mean, 2 days is 2 days. I mean, rather than start, on a Wednesday, start on a Monday.
Mhm.
You know.
A couple of years ago, we started on a Sunday, so, I mean.
It's set on Sunday.
But it was the 17th.
Yes.
Yeah, but why, I don't understand why March 17th.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I mean,
But is it in code?
No,
No?
it used to, I believe it used to start April 1st when the dredge fishery went through March.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah.
when that, I don't know the year by year, but I think generally after that, it was around March 17th.
Got a question, Mr. Chairman? Alexa, you say status quo, would that mean the fall fishery would stay like it is now?
Yes.
Just like last year.
Just like last year, okay.
Like it says there.
Yeah, so the high bushel limits, the summer limits would be through October 31st.
That's gonna
And
be-
then,
I bet no,
That's gonna be staff recommendations, is that correct?
yes. So these are the bushel limits and the dates we're recommending.
Mr. Rice?
It's more of a comment than anything. I'm with you, Mark, on the 15th. That being starting on a Monday's fine with me. I mean, a couple more days I don't think hurts. But the reason we did what we did for that Saturday was because you're taking pots up, and it's the end of the season, it's the end all be all. You don't have to start on day one. I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, I'd like to work 2 more extra days than what we have, but especially because oystering usually the past few years closes it'll be the 13th or so this year, so that would be pretty much, you can not have any downtime for us where we could still earn a paycheck. But that was just my comment on it, was just, we had that whole week, so you had time, you knew when you had to take them up, instead of it being on a Tuesday and the weather changes over the weekend and not having enough time to get your pots up and getting a ticket for being late.
I always start on Monday.
yeah, I mean, you know, for the people that don't oyster on the lower end of the bay, I mean, that would help,
Mhm.
you know, is all I'm getting at.
Well,
Make the motion.
being this is CMAC, we make our own recommendation
Yeah.
to the commission.
Yeah.
Staff has theirs and they say what CMAC's was, so CMAC can make whatever recommendation they want as long as it's enough votes.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we start on Monday the 15th rather than the 17th, to give us a full week of work, because we can't start or set pots until like the 17th usually. So at least that way we'll have our pots overboard on Monday. We'll be able to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the whole week.
So would you like to make a motion?
Yeah.
Everything is status quo except start March the 15th?
Correct.
Start the third Monday in March.
So I have a motion to keep everything status quo except the start date of March the 15th. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Can we
Aye.
discuss the motion first?
We can have discussion. Yes, sir, sorry, I'll take
So,
that back.
Well, I think one thing about this, we're talking about next year, we're talking about 10 months away, right?
Yes,
At
sir.
this point. And we're actually going to look at the actual stock assessment and things like that before this decision needs to be made, right?
That's my expectation.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can make a decision tonight, but we're gonna look at everything late summer, early fall, when, yeah, so we're making kind of a piecemeal motion tonight versus a more comprehensive process in the fall.
Well, my only comment to that is we had a discussion about sanctuaries and also black sponge crabs. That was actually, we all agreed that we were gonna do away with it June 1st, but yet we never followed through. So I would rather have this tonight done, the 15th, and forget about it, unless it comes back where we could possibly open March 1st. That's how I look at it, you know, because things are so much better. But I feel like the motion of the 15th.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Mr. Cox. It can be made and second, but you can still have
Yeah,
discussion,
discussion.
and then
I
somebody else
understand.
could make a substitute motion after that, so we still have time for discussion. Anything else?
Yeah, no, that's just, that would be my comment about this. I think we had a lot of discussion in the last 2 years about waiting for the stock assessment and doing a more thoughtful, comprehensive approach versus a piecemeal. And so that would be my comment on that. And that's why I would say I won't support this motion, but I'll support our effort to look at this comprehensively once the stock assessment's out.
Okay. Any more discussion? So I have a motion to, everything is status quo except change the start date to March the 15th, and I have it properly seconded. We're gonna call for a vote, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
What, opposed?
I have one. I have 7 yeas and 1 nay.
That's really all we had for tonight. Like I said, everything else is gonna come once we have the stock assessment in hand, once we have the update, once we know where we are at this point in time. I do wanna mention, we've gotten a few phone calls, law enforcement spotted, biological samplings have spotted, crabbers have spotted, some crabs around the bay with little recording, little devices attached to them. Just recording location. It's the University of Maryland's Center for Environmental Studies, UMCES. Tom Miller's lab is doing a study tracking crabs. So they released a bunch of crabs around Wolf Trap, I believe, and they're just kind of seeing where they go to in the bay. So if anyone catches one, that's what it is. I'm happy to answer questions about it. Well, happy to receive questions about it, which I would probably pass on to the staff, but I know when we've reached out and said, hey, one of our crabbers brought one of these, they just ask, where was it caught, when was it caught, and was it released or harvested? And I just pass that back on to the staff.
Is their preference that they be released?
Yeah, I think.
or harvested like, and the tags turned back in? I mean,
I
it's a legitimate question, because I'm sure what you're talking about here is a very small number of crabs that you might catch.
The ones that I actually saw that were caught on social media, the box is actually glued to the shell. So it's not like you can separate them with a,
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Yeah, I haven't been told if they have a preference one way or another. I know they don't wanna get in the way of
is this
people-
like a
people's
pinger they're
businesses.
tracking?
Sorry?
Is this like the pingers that they're tracking with the sonar setups?
I
with
believe
the
it is
buoys?
acoustic, right?
Yeah.
Acoustic
One more
and
thing I wanna talk about.
from Tom Miller.
Is it about anything on the agenda?
No, it's not on the next agenda.
Yeah, so the lead for the study said it doesn't matter if you keep it or not.
Okay.
Just a quick, yeah, can you provide some information on that, like pictures or just, if this group doesn't know about it, I think the general public doesn't know about it very much as well. And we're moving into the time of year where you're gonna have a lot of recreational crabbers as well. I think some folks might at least try to help you get that
Yeah, yeah.
information out to all those who help harvest crabs and figure out what this actually is. Maybe
Sounds
get
like-
some more data returns as
Sounds
well.
like
I
a
don't
good
have
press
anything to-
release and a Bay Journal article.
I don't have anything available, but I can let the staff know if they're
Okay.
interested. And I've told them in the past, like, let us know, we're happy to try to get the word out, because I know a lot of people caught these and were like, what the heck is this?
Right. And these are actually glued on, is that what you said, Ron?
They're what? Yeah.
Okay.
It
'cause-
looks sort of like there's a, like black electrical tape.
It's a patch of fiberglass that's been glued onto the shell, and then they glue the receiver onto that. They only have about a 6-month life expectancy for these small transmitters, so the problem will more or less disappear in the next couple months anyways.
And there weren't really a lot of crabs
It was- I
tagged
think it was
either.
30,
50.
so, 50, okay. So the fact that we've already seen 4 or 5 get reported is not a small percentage of returns already, so.
Hey, the public just likes knowing
Yeah, it
about
is
those
very
type of
important.
efforts as well, so.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else, I'm gonna ask about the public comment.
Yep.
We have public comment. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on something that is not on the agenda? Mr. Cox.
I would. I'd like on the next agenda to look into the pot limit. Over home, we have a major problem with out-of-state mowing boats. And this has been going on for years and years and years, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's a sad situation when you've got people from out of state coming here and putting a whole lot more pots on board than they're licensed for. I brought it to the law enforcement officer about 2 weeks ago. I took a picture of a pickup truck from Maryland with 340 pots on the trailer. Took a picture of it with the date, the tag, and the buoy number. It was on a Monday, and I took a picture of it Tuesday, and the trailer was empty. And I took a picture of it Thursday, and it was filled back up again with 340 pots. And I brought it to attention of the law enforcement officers there, and he said, I understand, I've heard you complain about it for years. He said, but in order to enforce that, we'd have to go out and pull up every pot. And he said, that's impossible to do because they're scattered, all over. We gotta make sure that every buoy has a pot on it, you just can't. And it's a damn shame when people from out of state can come here and put 700 or 800 pots on board, catch our crabs, and then go home. That's wrong. So I'd make a recommendation that staff look into this and see what can be done about that.
Do you have any recommendations?
Now, that's your job. Because the last time I made a recommendation of what needed to be done, I got a garden hose stuck down my exhaust pipe and it filled my engine full of water. So I don't want to go there again.
To that,
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, to that point, I mean, there have been a couple not many, but there have been a couple cases made by law enforcement over the years. Two? Is that,
But I want to know the number of pots. I brought this in front of Bill Pruitt one time and kind of aggravated him some. And I said, it was like 7 or 8 years after regulations. I said, you've never wrote a ticket for this. They did after that, but it was a small pot limit. He wrote a ticket for a small pot limit,
not a big one.
What the damn deal,
So do these people have Virginia
Yes, they do,
licenses?
yeah, and marketing, it's getting worse, we get more and more and more murderers every year. And when they fish in Berlin, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, they put 700 or 800 pots out there, fish half of them one day and half of them the next. This has to stop. It's not
actually
fair
more
for,
than
it's
that.
not fair for
Are
us.
they, I mean, do they have a 500 pot license or 300
It
pot?
don't make no difference, they pay no attention to that.
Well, I mean,
they pay
340 pots, I mean, if you had a 500 pot
You
license.
put them out twice.
Oh, okay.
You put 340 pots out twice. I took pictures of the date and the trailer and the truck.
Mhm.
That's just one example. But way back many years ago, we had 3 or 4. 3 or 4 showed up. We kind of worked things out. And then as years has gone by, the old timers are gone and things that we used to do don't do no more. And now more and more and more and more have showed up. I see you grinning. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Us old timers didn't put up with the bull, but different time now.
Anything else, Mr. Sanford?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss the black sponge law or possible extension or the sanctuary that we discussed last fall.
I would consider that that wasn't on the agenda, wouldn't you?
I
So
mean-
that could be done now.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
What happened to that whole discussion?
Looking into that?
The plan was to wait and do
They said we
all
will see.
new
We're looking.
management,
They said they would.
initiatives after the stock assessment comes in.
okay, and so we're gonna have the stock assessment June, July,
Yeah, we're hoping.
okay, and then you're gonna have a CMAC meeting.
We'll present the results. I can't exactly say timing, but it'll be later this year. Present the results, start talking about management measures the committee would like to see.
Okay, but you have no timeline
That's common sense.
per se, at all.
No, we don't even know when we're getting the numbers. It's first time we've had a benchmark since 2011. So, staff hasn't even had time to really go over it, discuss with leadership what's going on. So, all management will discuss with CMAC at that time.
Yes, sir?
So currently, we are working under a management approach where we come in the spring and talk about what regulations for the following year, and they get enacted later in the spring, and then they come into effect in March.
Yeah. First of,
Well-
July the 4th or 5th.
Well, we put them in effect, okay. Is the implication I'm hearing here is there is a potential, and before staff comes in and presents whatever you present, when we do this stock assessment review meeting, that we could have changes in the spring based on information we get late in the summer or early in the fall. The answer will be, yes, we can, or no, we can't. You don't have to answer now, but you should have that answer prepared when you do that meeting.
The answer is, right now, we don't know. We don't know how
And
much,
when
what,
you do that
when.
meeting, after you get the stock assessment, you're gonna go, this is really good, this is really bad. If it's really good, then you can come back and say, yes, we will entertain things that we will change for next season,
Mhm.
or for the following calendar year. Or this isn't so good and we are not even gonna entertain it, so don't even waste your time talking about it. That's, unless there is a quid pro quo where you say, you wanna do black sponge crabs, okay, we're gonna change the sanctuary, you wanna change the sanctuary, we're gonna do this or whatever. I mean, we do those kind of conservation equivalencies all the time. But I just don't wanna come here in September and have everybody get all in a tizzy about we wanna change this, this, and this, when staff is gonna say, we're not gonna do any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there should be a press release from someone once the final report is available, once the update is available. The update will be what tells us where we are in 2025.
Can you,
2020,
I assume
Five?
everybody on this committee
2025.
has access to email, I would hope. If not, the ones that don't, can you get us a copy of that report?
Definitely
Whenever
will.
it comes out, or put a link to it somewhere where we can download it?
Mhm.
Ron, I saw your hand. Yes, sir?
Just want to put in the request again that if, be on the lookout for stone crabs in the lower part of the bay. And the reason is that, with the cold snap, I was concerned, I was wondering whether or not that killed an awful lot of them. But I already got 3 sightings from Ty.
My brother was catching 3 or 4 a day down there. And it should be-
So I just ask that if you do, to please take some pictures and let staff know they can forward the information to me, because we're still working on trying to set up a website with all the sightings. From last year, I had over 30 sightings, all of them in the lower bay, some in Lynn Haven, couple in the Elizabeth River, and some on the eastern shore base side, lower bay, and a couple seaside
A lot.
as well. Yeah, when I record them, I have to have like the photos and
Yeah, they're not gonna do
information,
that.
so I would just ask if you get the word out, that would be great. Thank you.
Hey, Ron, quick question. What is the farthest north you have documented those thus far in the bay?
In the bay, the farthest north is not very far. It's
Okay.
James River mouth, near the James River mouth, and the same on the eastern shore bayside, up there by the YMCA group. So they require high salinity, and so they're not gonna go that far up.
JC, got a question?
Ron, I got a question for you. On the sponge crabs, is that temperature, water temperature related? What causes them to go from yellow to black? Is
Yeah.
that all tied to water temperature?
Yeah, it's all temperature driven in terms of how long. Typically, I would say it's about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on temperature, and going from orange to black.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Salinity have anything to do with it? Salinity?
We don't think salinity does.
Okay.
They require high salinity, because if they hatch the eggs, the larvae can't tolerate low salinity, they'll
Okay,
die.
right,
So that's why the larvae scoot offshore.
okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any other public comments about anything that is not on the agenda? Seeing that that's it, we would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you.
If anyone needs expense reports, please send me an email